a solution to accuracy in reporting.
Hello, you're listening to A Dirk Yeager Moment on RFN. I'm Dirk Yeager. I've been asked to recap and review the new HBO miniseries, Watchmen. Watchmen premiered Sunday, October 27th at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Watchmen is a sequel to the celebrated and lauded comic book miniseries of the same name. Now, before I get started, I know what you're asking yourself. Mr. Yeager, what the hell do you know about comic books? Well, it all started in 1977 Cambodia. Me, stripped bare, covered in mud, lying in prone position, hidden in the tall grass, like a cheetah. I worked in Cambodia as a smuggler. I would smuggle political dissidents, refugees, and Christian missionaries out of country. I'd take them in my biplane and drop them off in Honolulu, Hawaii. The Cambodian called me Arak Pansa, which roughly translates to the White Blight. You see, I was a consternation to the Khmer Rouge, because for an entire year I was able to slip past their carefully laid snares and entanglements akin to the roadrunner evading Wile E. Coyote. I was uncatchable until I was caught. One humid summer day in 1977, I found myself cornered by Khmer Rouge soldiers. I was a liberty-loving American trapped in a land that hated liberty and America. They accosted me and took me to a dark room where they interrogated me for 14 hours. They broke my body that night, but they didn't break my will. That was to come much later. After they finished interviewing me, they took my shattered body to one of their camps in the countryside. These camps aren't like the camps on the Mexican border. There wasn't any air conditioning, running water, or human rights. The work was hard as the days were long. The nights were cold, and the food bowls were empty as the children's eyes. Oh God, the children. During my stay, I met a Vietnamese minister named Nguyen Loc. His name meant good fortune. Loc and I quickly became companions. Every once in a while, we would encourage each other with a slight, silent gesture, a meeting of the eyes, a certain look. On a few occasions, the guards would refuse to give me food as punishment. Loc would sneak some of his meager ration into my bowl and tell me, "Eat, eat." I hate rice. Loc was a kind friend to me, but I wasn't always a good friend to him. One day, I developed dysentery and became delirious. I accused Loc of secretly being the enemy, a Cambodian spy. I attacked him one night while he slept, and during the struggle, I collapsed from fever. Loc nursed me back to health and fed me papayas. The papayas helped to relieve the cramps. The next morning, I swore to myself I was going to escape this place alive, and I was going to take Loc with me. One winter morning, the camp had come under attack by the Vietnamese. Before I could finish washing my body and, and grabbing some clothes, I grabbed Locke and told him, "Come on, We've got to strike while the iron is hot. While the guards were distracted, mounting a defense against the Viet Cong, Locke and I, along with several other prisoners, made a dash for the rear of the camp, where there was a now unguarded cavity that led outside. We ran as fast as our naked, malnourished bodies would let us, deep into the surrounding woodland. We made our way out of that woodland area into flatlands. Nude, we all laid down and began to slowly creep in the tall grass. We didn't want anyone to see us. I knew I was ready to take a life. After a few miles of belly crawling, we finally came to shore. We found a beach. We were all determined to leave this godforsaken land for America. Locke and the other prisoners were able to cobble together a makeshift skiff. The seas were rough, but luckily, perhaps due to Locke, one of the prisoners was an expert mariner. Locke would say Christ was with him. Now, I've never been a religious man myself, but he was making sense. We eventually hit land somewhere in Thailand. From there, I was able to secure travel, and after 2 years, 7 months, and 16 days, I finally set foot on American soil again. Locke made it to the States sometime later. Now, over the years, I lost touch with my Vietnamese bunkmate until, in 1993, he looked me up. He invited me to come visit him in Washington State. You see, Locke had moved to Seattle, started a family, and opened up a comic book store. I obliged him. I accepted his invitation. It was the least I could do. During my stay in Seattle, he gave me a tour of his comic book store. I told him I really don't understand grown men who read funny books. Locke, of course, was gracious. He knew I enjoyed great literature, in particular Dostoevsky, and he offered me a thick comic book called Watchmen. He told me it was a graphic novel. I accepted it reluctantly. Again, it was the least I could do. I took it home with me and promptly forgot about it for 7 months. Early March 1994, I had gotten into a dust-up with a rancher from Colorado. He hit me so hard he caused head injury. I had insomnia for weeks. Honestly, insomnia was preferable to the usual night terrors. Anyway, during that time I picked up Watchmen and began to read. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I was pleasantly surprised. What I found was a deep, multi-layered, rich tome. A literary art that transcended the manufactured limitations of the comic book while weaving an enthralling fiction perfectly tailored for the medium. It employed silent illustration to drive plot and wielded the written word to paint an image. Watchmen reached a level of sophistication and quality that no other work in its genre, or medium for that matter, had done before or since. Don't take my word for it. This ambitious novella managed to make Time magazine's top 100 novels of all time. Much to its writer's chagrin, it is both his and the comic book medium's magnus opus. Watchmen is an amazing feat in human accomplishment. It is a triumph in both the literary and visual arts. The HBO miniseries sequel, Watchmen, that premiered this past Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, is not that. You've been listening to A Dirk Yeager Moment on RFN. I'm Dirk Yeager.
If you like the content you've seen here, please like and subscribe.